Before we came on, you said you were workshopping a Brock Purdy 49ers take. What's all that about?
So this is, again, I want your guys' opinion on this. Let's say they finish 6-11 and have the 8th pick of the draft. What are they right now? They're 5-7, right? So 6-11 is on the board. Like, that. And Brock Purdy's agent comes to him this summer and is like, yeah, you know what? We don't even need the Dak Prescott deal, but we sure as hell need the Trevor Lawrence deal, plus, moderate inflation. We need the deal that all the quarterbacks who have accomplished less than my guy got. We need that. And Kyle Shanahan is sitting there, and John Lynch are sitting there with the opportunity to draft. I don't call it Jalen Milroe or Shador or Cam. I'm not sure. Like I don't know would be the guy in that spot. Should it be a real discussion of, we know Kyle thinks that this offense can reach a totally different level if they had a dual threat quarterback, a true dual threat. That's why they traded the Hall for Trey Lance. That was a disaster of a trade, but it doesn't mean he doesn't believe in the idea of it. We also know Kyle can go to an NFC Championship game and a Super Bowl with a quarterback and still feel like I can get better. If the Niners have to make the choice this summer between paying Brock Purdy $55 million or surveying their other options, is the Niners drafting a quarterback? By the way, what would they get for Brock Purdy in a trade? Probably a first-round pick back? Something? Like, do you think that's a reasonable discussion for the Niners to have? Or am I just saying it because I'm a lifelong Purdy skeptic? Like, and I'm not being a smartass. I mean, it's not a rhetorical question. I really want your guys' take on it because I'm going to talk about it on TV later today, and it would help me out if at least one of you guys says that's smart. And be like, well, I went on the smartest pod in America today, and they thought it was a decent idea.
It's at least, Nick, it's at least a real discussion. Like, they have to have those discussions. You have to have those discussions. I don't know how many teams have actually made that move. I think the Vikings made a move to say we're done with a Kirk Cousins type, and we're going to take our shot in the draft. And they went and got a J.J. McCarthy, and they did the bridge quarterback thing. Like, the Vikings did two things. They moved on from somewhat expensive quarterbacks so they could do other stuff, and they had a bridge quarterback. Is this the first bridge quarterback in history that's actually worked in Sam Darnold? It might be. So the Vikings might be the most recent example of somewhat doing this.
The Rams kind of did it.
They tried to go from good to great, though. Like, they said, right, Goff's good, fine. We want to become great. And they went for a known commodity in Stafford. What people haven't done is gone for the mystery box in the draft, right?
But aren't the Niners the team that did it? Like, we thought Jimmy G, I think, was not good, but his results were, excellent. His passer rating was excellent. Those things were excellent, but they were like, we can do better. And they had to really mortgage stuff. Now, he had injury stuff that Purdy might have some. All of a sudden, Purdy, you worry a little bit about the injury stuff as well.
But Jimmy G's, like, his injury list at this, like, at the stage where they went away from him on its own was enough reason to go in a different direction based off the history he had. Purdy's not there yet. You're right. It's a concern now when it wasn't before, but it's not reached Jimmy G levels. I think
totally right.
It's definitely a conversation that should be had. I mean, if you're not having that conversation somewhere in the building in the 49ers, you're simply not doing due diligence on everything, right? It's at least an idea you should be exploring, even if you ultimately conclude, no, we want to stick with the guy. What I think would make that very, very unusual is they don't know what Brock Purdy's contract does to that roster. Like, they have a broad idea, but the Vikings ultimately had a few go-rounds with Kirk Cousins and then went, look, based off what we know he does with this kind of money and this kind of roster, this is the number. And beyond that, it's not worth going there, right? I think that's the kind of thing that other teams have done is say, knowing what impact his contract has on the roster, this is how much he's worth. And if he wants more than that, we should go in a different direction. The 49ers would be speculating on that and speculating on the counterfactual, right? I think the sensible solution to me would be, let's at least try the $55 million a year Brock Purdy version and see what that does. And if it turns out that's crippling, then we can try and trade him away and draft another guy.
No, that's fair. The other reason it was intriguing to me is it's very, very rare that you're in the position the Niners are in, which is think you're a real contender, but all of a sudden have a top 10 pick and haven't paid the quarterback to a point to where trading him away is seamless. There'd be zero dead money. You would get even more of a return for, you know what I mean? Like we talk about, this is what when they traded Goff or when they traded Wentz, like their return was less than it would have been because teams taking on the contract and you have to deal with the dead money. So it's just such a unique spot for a team that I think has proven they'll take swings. Like, you know what I mean? They will. And I do think the Niners, I do not begrudge them at all they did the smart thing of going even more all in this year. They were in overtime of the Super Bowl. They have been so close. They might have won the Super Bowl 2 years ago if Purdy doesn't get hurt. But all of a sudden, it's like, this team does feel a little old. And Aiyuk coming off the ACL, how is that? What's he going to look like? Is this year from Deebo an anomaly, or does using a wide receiver like a running back make him age like a running back? Which is a real concern. And so the offense all of a sudden feels old to me. So that's the other piece of it.
All right, Sam. I think you can go to TV with that, Nick. You can bring it to TV.
Okay,
it's acceptable. Right. You've thought it through.
It.
I think
Thank you. I have thought it through.
It's a good enough take for TV.
Mm-hmm. Thanks for watching all the way to the end of our video.
For more great content, click here to subscribe and here to watch another video. We'll see you again soon.